and share with black with more education and love for our nation would make a better society. Now some of us would rather cuss and make a fuss.
Let's see, Taalik says, can you send a shout out to my platform, the Realities Temple on Earth Internet Ministry?
Right, Be Your Mind, Soul Liberation Day 2024. And I hope I'm able to speak there this year. I hope I'm able to speak this year. Angel.
So I'm not your enemy.
I want to talk to
I know who the enemy is.
I want to talk
You're wasting your time making mockery of me. Oh, I'm crazy. My brain is damaged. My EnVogue poster. I'm miserable in my life. All this nonsense that you talk about. And you a slave, just like me, in a racist nation.
I believe that with you by my side, together we can touch the sky.
So yeah, shout out to everybody that came through, man. Shout out to the Reality Temple. Shout out to Angel Snuffing Up. Be on the lookout. So Liberation Day. I believe it's that I forgot the date, Angel. I think it's December 7th. Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
I'm not a preacher. I'm not a minister. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not a priest. I'm here to stand up for the enlightened people, and the people who are not enlightened, no matter what race, color, creed you are. I don't want to have nothing to do with you because you're going to be a hole back in the stomach and blocking my life. Because I'm functioning on a whole nother level and a whole nother wave. Just like the brother from Reality Temple, Brother Taalib, be speaking about soul power forever. Y'all people need to support and check out Operation Exodus, Mississippi. That's the only logical program that's for helping people who trying to come up about it. Peace, love, and light. And soul power forever.
Peace forever and always. My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving me.
in a state of emergency. Prejudice. Wrote a song about it? Like to hear it? Here it go. Free your mind.
When we came out with this idea over 5 years ago about the Operation Exodus Mississippi plan, people kept calling this a pipe dream, saying this won't work. And we kept telling them, we ain't the first ones that came up with this idea. Our ancestors had already started this blueprint. But we're in a better position to carry it out. And that's what we continuously fail to understand.
My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving.
I'm saying that the Nation of Islam should evolve into what we call the Reality's Temple on Earth. You don't need no Arab hand-me-down religion. You don't even need God. You don't need these things. That's good for us in our infancy, in our immaturity, when we was babies. But as we grow and mature, and even in religion itself, it says that we are the children of God. Children can't stay children forever. Children must become adults. So if we are the children of God, that means we become God. Act like God, move like God, and have the responsibility of a God. Back in Memphis, Welcome to the Reality Tip on Earth, Dragon Manifest.
Thank you for having me, brother. This is an honor. When I first saw your channel, I said, oh, this is an ancestor that has most definitely returned. Yes, most definitely. This is not a new ancestor. This is an old ancestor. You could hear, you could feel the ancestors through you. You know, most people probably say, what is he talking about?
Right.
They don't get it. You gotta be on that level.
If you say that I'm divine and I'm a prophet, where the hell did your ass go to? Why aren't you heeding the call? Since I'm a prophet, since I'm divine. Some people, excuse the language, some people just like talking out their ass. 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 That's what they like to do.
My black people, it's all about the unity. It's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving.
What's the sense of trying to debate angry slim themselves? There's many people, they want to debate and get angry at me. You can't debate me. You're cut and paste.
Show me the way to the future, 'cause I am tired of the past. Some of us are just used to resisting. We all know it can last. You better make up your mind now. Don't take too long on a stone. Let's put together somehow. We can make it move on. While you wait for me,
I don't know how I'm gonna survive. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I got to get the hell out of here.
gotta get away from him. Oh, God. Got to get away from him. Come on and join my session. It's time for change. Change. Nothing stays the same.
We are in a process of healing.
It's time for change.
The deacons of Reality put out a short video and talk about winning. I don't like losing. I really don't. I'm very competitive. I don't like losing. Some people don't mind losing. Oh, it ain't nothing but a game.
Patience come, gotta move along. No better play, it's time to win. Don't criticize, try to realize I'm number one in the end. Oh, that's the color of success. I play to win. Oh, I there's no other color of success. I play to win. Oh, free as a bird. It's time to spread the word.
I don't like losing. I really don't.
Gone, the sun is shining.
I'm very competitive. I don't like losing. Some people don't mind losing. Oh, it ain't nothing but a game. Because you're a loser. Of course it's not but a game, because you're a loser. Anybody that play any game, you play the game because you want to win. Nobody plays a game to be a loser. Nobody.
And the cow was returned to its rightful owner. In today's entertainment.
ride. Let's get this party started. Ride, let's get this party started quickly. Let's get this party started quickly. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started quickly. Let's get this party started quickly. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started quickly. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started. Ride. Let's get this party started quickly.
That's right. I'm proud to be a Southern girl. Well, back to Texas, where everything is bigger. The game begins in 3,
My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving.
warning. Stand by for countdown. Prepare audience for maximum impact. Full immersion begins in
Just keep it going. I'm a soul man. Yes, I am. I'm a soul man. I'm a soul man.
You couldn't be so. You couldn't be so. You couldn't be so. Love is what I want. I'm gonna feel your body holding me tight, 'cause I need some more than tenderness. Throughout the history of the United States, the construct of racism was created specifically to oppress Black people, to try to suppress our determination to achieve liberation. Like Angela Davis said, it's built into the system.
Nowadays I can't believe what's going on in front of me. I don't want to watch TV. Read the news. My heart's already cause I got an attitude. We're like soldiers forced to fight a war. What the hell? I can't take it anymore. Cause for so long we've been patient, now we're done. Don't you even ask me when did.
All righty, all righty. Brother, can you hear me? Hey,
Yeah, I
so
hear you.
brother, okay. All righty. Yes, well, brother, thanks for allowing me to come on this live panel tonight. I just got a little bit under a couple hours because I got to be somewhere and definitely exactly almost a couple hours. And but I want to just sum up on a situation I heard about, you know, on social media. Of course, as some of you in social media who have heard already that Derek Chauvin, the cop that killed George Floyd, who had his knee on George Floyd's neck and killed him back in 2020, has reportedly been stabbed in prison. And from my understanding, the injuries is what was described serious. They was able to rescue him and send him off to a hospital outside the prison. Now, this happened in a federal prison out in Arizona, where he's being incarcerated at over the killing of George Floyd. And of course, right before that, days ago, recently, his appeal was rejected in the U.S. Supreme Court. So, I mean, of course, bad luck is obviously coming this guy's way simultaneously. Now, the reason I want to do a live on this topic is because, first of all, I understand, you know, the excitement. You know, I even saw someone on social media who did a video, a live video about it, and actually glorified and praised the person who was another inmate who was unidentified that allegedly stabbed Derek Chauvin. But I want to say this, and they even went far as to say that they should free that inmate that stabbed the ex-cop out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So here's my thing with that. Okay. I just want to make it perfectly clear that I am against injustices when it comes to any type of form of law enforcement brutality against not only people of soul, but against anybody, period, in general, when it's unjust. And what happened in George Floyd's case was unjust, which prompted riots across the country, along with protests, that further, of course, fueled the fire for more racial and class warfare divide in this nation. And also, which also intensified the division that still separates the unquote community from law enforcement in this nation. Now, I want to also say, though, that my point in all this saying is that I don't agree with what I heard on another YouTube channel when they made the comment about this guy that stabbed George Floyd's killer should be freed. First of all, he's another inmate himself who's obviously incarcerated for something he may have done. Probably. You see what I'm saying? So what gives him a right to, administer unofficial justice against somebody else that's incarcerated like him, And I've seen this go on, too much during my own periods while doing time in the penal system, and it's very unjust, whether it's inmate on inmate violence or jail guard or correction officer violence on inmates. You see what I'm saying? It's very unjust. And like I had to even comment under the video, because usually I don't comment under them YouTube videos like that. And but I thought I'd chime in with a comment of my own. And I basically was like, when the judge hand down that sentence, that don't mean that that person incarcerated who got to go serve that sentence should have to suffer another unnecessary, unjust, punishable sentence, which is called being assaulted, even being raped, or being attacked by guards or set up by guards to have another inmate attack them. You know what I'm saying? Because right before this situation occurred with George Floyd's murderer getting stabbed in prison, it was another, I think he was some type of mixed mulatto young man, but he was in a prison down in Alabama. Okay. And he died on the same day he was supposed to got out of prison. Well, it was alleged that him and the warden had an argument, and he cussed the warden out or something like that, as of in them respects. And so what happened was he ended up getting attacked by some inmates who surrounded him with homemade prison weapons, which is called shanks in there, which they usually call shanks. And so anyway, he was attacked, beaten, and raped. And his injuries were so severe that by the time he got to the hospital, he was dead. And so the parents who had got in contact with the warden put out there that the warden said that this inmate died over a drug overdose, but accounts from other inmates said otherwise. And so now this same warden at this same prison where this inmate was killed at has been up under 40 different legal complaints, faced with lawsuits in federal court over these same similar situations. This same warden I'm talking about. And so now you have those over that warden in the Department of Corrections investigating that. And usually when only the state is involved with investigating something like that, because it's a prison inmate, it usually gets swept up under the rug. And those of you who have been incarcerated know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, but hopefully, either way it go, I still will hope that this inmate and his family at least get some justice behind this situation, or that warden is at least held accountable for what happened to him under his watch in that particular prison in Alabama. But yeah, it's a harsh reality when you go in there, because he only had a year to do over some type of kind of theft crime that he was locked up for. And just 1 year. And he ended up dying on the same day he was supposed to have been released. You know, so I mean, it's like, you know, this is why I say that those who, you know, verified that individual that stabbed George Floyd's killer, who I feel like should have got way more time than what he got, because all he got was 21 years. That's it. And the other cops who was involved got way less of time, of course, in the state and federal prison system. But this guy here, you know, still didn't deserve what happened to him, you know, at the hands of another inmate. And even if it was at the hands of another guard, it shouldn't have happened. And this is why I feel like if we took control of a state like Mississippi, we could do a lot to help revamp stuff like that in this country. Because the system, of course, the penal system, as well as, of course, the criminal justice system, does need a lot of revamping, which I'm pretty sure many of you would agree out there. And, you know, this mean even including the fact that laws being put in place to guarantee that those who have to go inside to do time for whatever criminal offense they committed should be able to do their time in peace and get out safely. And that means that even laws need to be enforced more to whereas if an inmate assault another inmate, especially sexually assaulting another inmate, that they should get a far worse severe penalty than them just getting locked up in segregation, which inmates inside refer to as the hole. Okay. And it need to be criminal charges brought against them for stuff like that. I've even heard one person put out there that for that type of stuff going on in prisons, they need to just put them kind of people in front of a firing squad and have at it with them and then call it a day. Call it a day, you know? Because no one has a right to violate no one else like that. I don't care for whatever reason, you know? And like I said, you know, when people go to jail or prison, they should be able to go there and do their time in peace and get out after the sentence that the courts gave them is completed. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, and this is also to point out that since America always claimed it has the most fairest criminal justice system in the world, well, really, they can't sneeze at other countries whose prison system is considered to be far more dangerous or worse than the prison system here in the United States. But they ain't far from the level of what's dangerous in the prison systems of other countries. America's not far from it at all. Yeah, you know, I've heard about countries like Mexico, Colombia, you know, Venezuela, places like that. In South America, where they Brazil, you know, where their prison systems is a lot more you know, dangerous and stuff like that, you know. But America's not far from it. And I'm going to tell you why America is not far from that. Because when you go in them type of places, first of all, you got to put up and deal with the disrespect of those who are there to protect and care for you, so they say, which is the guards or the prison administration, which I'm speaking of. And they're far more worse than the inmates because of the fact that they got the keys to the gates and doors that they lock you, that they use to lock you behind them fences and stuff. You know, they could do far more worse stuff to you than them inmates can. Even like I said, to the point of having another inmate assault you or even possibly take your life, which I saw go on during my time of incarceration, you know, at one period or another, you know. So, I mean, it's not no game. These things actually go on in prison. And it was another situation that happened a while. This was like more a little bit a while back. Which I'm pretty sure many of you remember this guy named Larry Nassar who was convicted in Michigan for sexually assaulting those female Olympic gymnastic gymnastic Olympic stars, and he ended up getting a lot of time in prison. And I found out over recently ago that he was actually assaulted or stabbed at a federal prison in Florida where he was doing time at for his crimes. So again, and I mean, these guys did what they did. Okay, I get that. And they should be punished. They should be held effectively accountable for what they did to their victims. I get that. Okay? And that go for anybody that commit a crime against a victim, whether it's a police or a prominent public figure or just a clear out nobody. If you do the crime, like Beretta say, then you do the time, you know? So, I mean, and he almost failed at his own advice, you know, but, you know, like I said, you know, it's like, it's at a point where this got to stop. You know, these prisons is already overcrowded. It's already horrendous, poor conditions going on in these prisons. The prisons understaffed with guards and all this other kind of crazy stuff. Guards quitting because they scared for their life and all this type of stuff, you know. So, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, this is a serious situation that definitely should be addressed, especially in a society like this, which is prone to violence, period, you know? And like I said, you know, yes, these people should do that time or be held accountable for what they did to others, you know, in unquote free world society. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing with that. You know, I'll say this here, you know, that feel this way. If you're going to allow people to go in prison and have to face double sentences unnecessarily, then just be real about it, like them other countries, like I mentioned, is more honest about how they treat their convicted felons or incarcerated offenders. Don't say that you have the most fair justice system in the world and you know you don't. Especially along with the racism that goes with it, you know? So, I mean, but this is a big problem going on in this nation. And it needs to be addressed. And people who be on social media talking mostly about nothing, a lot of times, want to debate about the Bible or the Quran and all this other crap, you know. Those are the type of things, if you're going to talk about something, that need to be talked about more than this other crazy stuff, because this is real life stuff that's going on in society that affects people forever, for the rest of their lives. You know, and this thing with incarceration, just like with these draconian sentencing laws that they came out with, especially back during at the height of the crack cocaine era, you know, and stuff like that, destroyed many families that would be destroyed forever because of this, and destroyed many individual lives that would be forever destroyed because of this, or what I'm speaking about, you know. So, I mean, it's like, you know, those scars don't go away. Not overnight, and sometimes it'll never go away, period. As a matter of fact, once you incarcerated, that takes something from you. We even heard Mike Tyson say that it took something from him. Because he said when he got out, he knew he wasn't never the same. So that affects anybody that ends up in a situation like that, you know. And you know, I don't care who you are. And there's many more examples prominently known like him that could be spoke for, you know, concerning that. But it's like the whole situation with this is that this guy, like I said, he did what he did, you know, and he's just along with the fact that he's incarcerated, but at least the time that they did give him, which I said it should have been more, of course, it should have been a life sentence. But, you know, I'll say that I mean, you know, he did what he did, and he's where he's supposed to be. But he also has a right, like anyone else incarcerated, to be able to do his time in peace. You know, matter of fact, when I was incarcerated for a certain amount of years in the state of Georgia, I was in there with a ex-Georgia state trooper who was doing time. He was in the General Pop line with everybody else. He was on the General Pop line with everybody else. Just your regular everyday inmate you see coming and going. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I never knew of anyone that even tried to do anything to him nor mess with him. I mean, you know, but even if they are incarcerated, like I said, they just like any other inmate. It don't make no difference who you was outside, because when you go in there, all that change. I don't care if you was the president like Donald Trump. If you go up in there, it's all the same. It's all open, equal opportunity. Nobody is different from the other. Just another inmate, you know? So, I mean, it's like you have a right to be left alone and to be able to do your time in peace, you know? And like I said, at first, when I heard about this guy getting stabbed, I'm gonna have to be honest, because we keeps it real on this platform, like someone say. So I'm gonna have to be honest. I almost felt like, whoa, he got stabbed. I almost got that same type of excitement like everybody else that did when it started popping up all over social media. And I mean, every time I cut on my phone and go on the internet, I see nearly the first pictures I see is his mug shot popping up, talking about Derek Chauvin stabbed in prison. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's top news right now. But here's the thing, like I said, He's just another prisoner like anybody else that's incarcerated. And he should be able to do his time in peace. And whenever they let him out, when he's done with his sentence, if he lives that longer, because what, he got 21 years, how old is he? 47, from what I understand. Okay. So he's been in there he's been locked up for the last couple of years, so he should be approaching the end of his 60s by the time he get close to seeing his out date. Okay. So, but, you know, whenever he do make it out of there, he should be able to get out of there in peace without being scarred up like he unfortunately had happened to him. You know? And so it's like you know, should nobody have to go through that? I mean, being incarcerated is enough toll on a person, mind, body, and soul all together as it is, you know. And then when they have to deal with all this other adversity, whether it's coming from the guards or the inmates, you know what I'm saying? That's a double punishment, which that jail prison sentence didn't exactly call for. I mean, you know, it ain't like the judge said, okay, I'm gonna sentence you to this, but you're gonna also have to serve that sentence, which is called prison justice or prison inmate justice. You see what I'm saying? And if America, with it claiming to be the fairest, to having the fairest justice system in the country, then of course it shouldn't be that way. But the reality is that it is that way. You know, and I you know, I feel like at this point in time, we need to really take a look at, you know, how we address things in this country when it comes to, like I said, incarcerating people in the first place. Then we also have to take in consideration that there are many people incarcerated that shouldn't be incarcerated for crimes that they actually didn't commit, okay? Which is another whole subject alone by itself, okay? And they even have to suffer untold abuse by guards and inmates. Yes, people who are incarcerated falsely against their own free will, who shouldn't even be incarcerated at all legally, have to face the same thing in there like those other prisoners who are in there because they actually committed a crime that the courts convicted them of, you see. So, I mean, it's like, you know, it's a two double-edged sword when it comes to all that. And it's very unjust. And that's the worst type of injustice that could go on in the so-called free world society like America, as they call it, you see, in the so-called free democracy like America. And this is why I say when you talk about other countries like China, Colombia, Venezuela, even Mexico, at least when it comes to how they administer their justice system against those that are accused of committing criminal offenses, at least they're more honest about it. But I can't say that about the nation that I live in. And of course, America is not honest about a lot of things when it comes to facing its own truth or reality as a nation. But that part with the penal system is definitely one thing that America must once and for all address. And of course, because this is an arrogant nation, which is not addressing the oppression that she's handed down for so long to those of us who are at the bottom or considered the underclass bottom of this society, she definitely shouldn't be expected to address other ills of injustices, like even with mass incarceration, which is part of the topic that I'm speaking on. So I have to say that it's very unfortunate what happened, to this guy, Derek Chauvin. And of course, if he'd have handled the situation differently by being professionally responsible as a police officer, when he had his knee for 9 minutes on George Floyd's neck, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, nowhere on social media. And so, but however, like I said, he's another inmate. And the reality and the truth is, whether we like it or not, is that he has a right to do his time in peace like any other inmate that's incarcerated in those penal institutions across this nation. And I say that, if it was anybody else, if it was the lowest of the low considered as of society, the lowest of the scum, as the criminal justice system may consider those of society, like child molesters, rapists, kidnappers, stuff like that, sex traffickers, you know what I'm saying? They have a right, once they're incarcerated, to be able to do their time in peace, So I'm not, when I say this, even in regards to law enforcement, people that end up getting incarcerated themselves, I don't discriminatorily just restrict that to them. This is all the way across the board with anybody that's doing some type of kind of jail prison sentence, or what they call an incarceration term, So I would say that this is the reality of the situation. And when I hear about stuff like that, in a way, it still bothers me. I'm gonna have to be honest with you. And I know someone out there might say, well, hell, you free to a certain point. So what are you even worried about that for? Well, first of all, it don't consume my whole day, but it bothers me to a certain point because I was once in Derek Chauvin's situation. I was once in Larry Nassar's situation. You see what I'm saying? So, quite naturally, I'm not saying I got sympathy for him, but I do have empathy for him. And what I mean by me having empathy for them too, and others like them in that type of situation, is that I know what goes on in them kind of places when it comes to oppression. Period. Okay. So, I say that what applies to them, once again, I say should apply to anyone that's faced with incarceration, and it's just that simple, no more or less. And I just say that, we need to understand and realize that if we're gonna be about change in this world, let alone just even in this society, but in this world, if we're gonna be about real change, far as combating those that we're oppressed by, like that individual who oppressed another victim, which he's doing time for now, I say that we will be acting much worse or just as worse as that oppressor. By praising others that carry out vengeance on them that wasn't imposed on them by the courts. You see what I'm saying? So that inmate that stabbed Derek Chauvin is just as guilty or worse than Derek Chauvin. And then, like I said, what gives him a right to administer inmate justice when he's in there for committing a crime? And who did he victimize in the streets to get incarcerated? You see what I'm saying? What was the circumstances of his crime? You see? But you don't think about that when you talk about stuff like what happened with Derek Chauvin. You don't think about that before you just jump to your own conclusions of, oh, okay, this guy did a good job. Let's praise him. By telling people that he should be freed from prison. By telling those that are responsible for him being incarcerated to free him because he assaulted another inmate. That's just flat out wrong. Simple as that. That's just flat out wrong. You don't do nothing like that. That's just flat out wrong. That's just period. That's flat out wrong. I just have to say that. It's flat out wrong. And this is why the world would never get no better than what it is now. Because of people that got that type of mentality, that vengeful mentality. That's just the same thing with us as soul people. Okay, we get a chance to get in power, to take control of something, and then we go to acting just like the oppressor, doing the same things like the oppressor did by oppressing each other, which we even do, even under the yoke chains of modern day slavery now. We oppressing each other, killing each other. The same thing the oppressor was doing to us. which makes us no different from them. And that's all I'm saying. When it comes to this situation of inmate on inmate violence, and stuff like that goes on in prison. We're no different than the oppressors that's oppressing us. Even in there, we're no different from them. So this is like I said, we have to understand that in order to make real change happen, we cannot be like the oppressor. And that's my message in this topic. Hell, I still want them to hunt down that same white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri years ago that killed that young soul brother, Mike Brown. But I want the courts to be able to effectively administer justice like they did to a certain point with Derek Chauvin in George Floyd's case. But not for him to have to go to prison and end up having the same thing happen to him either, like what happened to Derek Chauvin or any of these other cops who should also be in prison, like Derek Chauvin. You see what I'm saying? So I have to say again that we have to really take this in consideration before we make stupid remarks or comments, by praising somebody else, now for committing harm upon somebody else. Now, and y'all may ask me what made me have a change of heart when it comes to that. Well, first of all, see, you live and learn and grow. And when you live and learn and grow and start understanding things for what it is, then you begin to see through a whole entire different eye that you wasn't seeing things through before. And that's the point where I've gotten, so, hell, when I was, 18, barely an adult after leaving from up under my parents' roof. Years ago, I was in New York City and I had a Caucasian cop draw a gun on me and pulled it straight to my head, pulled it up straight to my head and pointed it at me. Before I could even get the last few sentence words out my mouth to explain my part of a situation that I thought was over with, because I had got into an argument with some people and then we left and went in our separate different directions and I didn't think no more about it. As soon as I end up running into this cop who approached me about them making a complaint against me, this is what happens. Then they rushed me and put me in a car, roughed me up, throw me in the back seat, take me to a deserted nearby street where nobody else could be seen walking through at the time, took me up out the back seat of the cruiser and started punching on me, and then gave me a BS sob excuse warning and sent me on my way. Just like that. which is called profiling. And we know New York City, would they draconian stop and frisk laws has always been known for profiling Black and brown people. Okay? So that's nothing new. That was going on in the 80s when that happened to me there. Okay? And that wasn't the first time nor the last time I would be racially profiled by the police. Okay? But I'm just telling you, all these things to say that I had feelings, of course, naturally, boggled up in me, filled with hate and all that. You see what I'm saying? So whenever I came across someone in law enforcement, or even like the ones I still feel like had a dear friend of mine's killed back home where I'm from, you know, of course, that hate lingers in, okay? But it comes to a point where, and I'm still learning how to grow out of that, okay? I'm not perfect, just like no one else that is. That's you know, I'm just like anybody else. I'm not perfect, okay? And I still struggle with that, but at least I'm growing to get beyond that stage. You see what I'm saying? Just like with anybody else that do wrong to me. I'm growing to get beyond that stage of having hate. And things do take time. But that, because when you let hate consume you, whether you want to know it or not, that bothers your health. That messes with your health. That's when it starts becoming a problem, when it messes with your health. When it even take you to your early grave. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Okay? So, yeah. And I'm already dealing with health issues at this point in my middle age. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, yeah. I'm growing to the point that, no, it's not okay to be vengeful. Especially when innocent people's lives is involved. Okay? So, like I said, you know, we have to understand and realize that these things are real. And with this topic that I'm speaking on, what would happen to George Floyd, of course, was unjust. And I would have been one of the first, and was one of the first ones to say he should have got more time. He should have got much of a longer sentence than just 21 years. Because what, 60 some years, 67, 69, still ain't that old. Yeah, you may be an elderly at that point, but that's still not old. Hell, I'm only 55, and of course that ain't old. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one decade beyond my age. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, man, you know, people have a right, again, to be able to serve out their sentence without having to wake up every day worrying about if they gonna be harmed in any type of shape, form, or fashion. You see? And that's just that simple. No, I'm not saying they should receive special treatment, but basic human right. The basic human right is to be left alone. And that means, like I said before, is implementing laws in place. And even to a certain point, I would agree with someone I was talking with the other day, saying that maybe it's some type of stuff they used to feed people in the military, especially during the time of war, to keep them from getting an erection, where they could just run amok and just start raping people. Well, that type of food they decide or manufacture for people in the military, they should do that with prisoners. And I would agree. And I know y'all gonna say, well, that's experimentation. Okay. But you know something? Life ain't fair. This is an imperfect world. And I'm going to take that out of the page of one of your religious books called the Quran, as well as Bible, where it says that Allah or God created an imperfect world. You see what I'm saying? So nothing in this world is ever going to be perfect. You know, Noah is life going to be perfect, because that who created life did it imperfect. Okay, it was an imperfection. Okay, so don't expect life to be perfect, because it's not. But that idea would, to a certain point, curtail that type of violence that goes on in places like prison. You see what I'm saying? Or they could adopt another method that'll be just as effective without it even causing harm to that person, to where they could make it out of prison alive themselves and be in the same shape as they was when they went in there. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, my whole thing is they need to implement some laws and measures, as even like in that manner that I just explained, that they need to curtail, where it would curtail violence, inmate on inmate assaults, period. Even if it come to fights, because you could die in a fight. You ain't just got to kill nobody with no shank. In a regular fist fight, you can actually die. You know, you got a lot of guys in there that can fight, but that also know how to box, and that's even mixed martial artists. Just like you got all other kind of people in prison. You got them type of people in there too. Look at Mike Tyson. He was a prime example. And plus, his hands is licensed to kill. You see what I'm saying? Because he was a boxer. So if he was to actually knock somebody out while he was in prison, he could have actually been charged with murder. You see what I'm saying? Because his hands was lethally licensed to kill. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, like I said before, you know, they need to implement stuff. And now I know there are those of you out there that's gonna probably challenge what I'm saying by saying, well, hey, what about the lifers? Those people ain't never getting out. Well, again, because everybody that's in prison also for life wasn't justly handed a life sentence. Okay, so I'm gonna put it that way as well also, just to put it that way. And when you dealing with that situation of people that's doing life or even on death row in there, you know, that may to a certain point have access to other inmates physically, contact wise, I say that if they assault each other, it should be some type of severe measure brought against them that can make that preventive. You got to understand, we're living in a society which they got measures to prevent anything they want to prevent. They just not doing it. We can't sit up and say what these people can't do. Because to the degree of what the type of society and country we're living in, and the type of government we're living under, as far as even their system go. So we can't say what these people ain't capable of doing. Yeah, we know they capable of wreaking havoc and, destroying people's families and lives and all this other stuff and communities and stuff. But they also have the power and the capabilities to make it right as well. So I'm just on that note. I just want to make that clear. And you just can't sit up and say what they can't do. If they could prevent people in the military, especially during the time of war, from raping civilians that they have contact with during the period of war combat, then they could do the same thing for those in prison that are incarcerated. Trust and believe that, so it don't make no difference what your sentence is. Something can be done about that. Like I said, and you know what? Like I said, once again, this is an imperfect world. So life ain't fair. But if someone with a life sentence was to kill somebody, which of course has been done many a times in there, especially under the opposites of the mentality where they ain't got nothing to lose anyway, because they know they ain't never getting out. Well, the only alternative, they could use a measure or put them in front of a firing squad. And that'll end that BS. That would end that BS. And let me tell you something, because I've done time with lifers, and a lot of them got more sense than some of them people in there with 2 to 5 year sentences, okay? Some of them got a whole lot, I'm talking about a whole lot more sense than some of those in there doing 2 to 5 year sentences, okay? So they ain't that just plain out stupid. They want to still live even though they know they ain't never getting out. But some of them still want to live too, until they could die of natural causes of some sort of type. Okay? So don't get that mistaken. For those of you that's listening to this live stream throughout social media, do not get that mistaken. You got lifers in there that do want to stay alive long as they can. Ain't nobody just ready to, in their right mind, just ready to go to the grave early if they ain't got to. You see what I'm saying? I mean, let's keep it realistic now. But moving along, I mean, like I said before, there can be measures to prevent all this stuff. Like I said about this in the situation with the military. you know. So like I was told, you know, and see, this is the thing. Going back to what I said before, you cannot say what these people can't do, because they have many great capabilities, whether they use it to do right or wrong. Okay, so you can't say what they can't do. We're in the most powerfulest country in the world. Okay, let's not forget that. And they got the resources and the capabilities to do right or wrong, whichever they choose, you see. So I just wanted to just simply point that out. And I don't have too much long because I got to be somewhere, so I'm going to have to cut this short. But I would like to thank our number one soul brother, Angel Snup 7, for allowing me on here to speak. And I'm your number two soul brother Taalib. And I will see you next time. And with that said, peace.